This podcast is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Out of the Ashes presents Missing Dad.
I might have ended up on the wrong side of the tracks if Pops wouldn't have pulled me back and said, yo.
Each episode is a thought-provoking interview with people across all walks of life to see how they were affected by missing key pieces in their relationship with their dad.
I told him as a youngster, he'll be the greatest man alive.
And now your hosts, Coley Harris and Amar Melton.
Welcome to another episode of Missing Dad. I'll be your co-host, Coley Harris.
And I'm Amar Melton.
And we have with us the one and only, the undisputed, the undeniable.
Okay.
World travel.
All right.
I've definitely globetrotter.
Tri-state renowned.
World renowned.
World renowned.
Yes, sir.
Entrance, indelible. The one, the only. Thought I'm gonna call you Yorkie D.
Yorkie D is a.k.a. Big Deezy. Shit! Y'all know what it is. Y'all know how I do it. Shit, baby! It's Big Deezy, a.k.a. Timeless Thomas, a.k.a. Yorkie D. And it's a pleasure for me to be here because I'm coming about the ashes with some brothers that really got a lot of classes. We're talking about missing dads, which is a very, very important topic in our community.
Yeah.
So let's get right into it with no further ado.
So this man right here, yo, it's a pleasure to have Yorkie D on here today.
It's a
Big
pleasure to
Deezy,
be here,
man.
Hank, man. It's a pleasure to be
And you
here.
go back. How far, man? We go back.
Actually, we go back like car seats. We're going to put a 1980 breakdancing days. Let me see something. I used to windmill doing backflips. So you better act quick and come see me bust moves on this podcast shit. We go back to 84, 85.
Yeah. Easily.
86.
Easily. Yeah. So, man, it's a pleasure to have you here, man, today on this podcast, man.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Exploring, you know, I mean, we delve into, we all about fatherhood, you know, out of the ashes. But Amar and I, we look at the challenges that come along with fatherhood. We explore what it is, what it means to be a good father. You know what I mean? And everything all around and in between, man. And so we're fortunate to have you here. So why don't we start off with you just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, the people that know me know that I grew up as a rap artist in Wilmington, Delaware, and then I expanded to the rest of the world because I knew at an early age that God made the earth really big, so I knew that my backyard was going to be huge. So I selected New York, Philadelphia, New Jersey, and Baltimore to become my region where I would spit my cum, where I would be, a father or son. So fortunately, I'm one of the members of the community, of the urban community, that had a father in my life. And this is why this is such an important show to me, Missing Dads. It's an important topic altogether because when a father is missing from the home, from the foundation, the development becomes unbalanced really quickly. And now we're talking about a hardworking mom and some brothers and sisters who are probably peers, forced to raise, the child, whether it be male or female.
Let me chop in there a little bit, bro.
Yes, sir.
Tell us. I want to know a little bit about because we got some similarities in the background and some differences, and Tell us about your upbringing and into your teenage years and young adult life. How was that?
Well, I grew up in a fairly middle class neighborhood. If we had any roaches or mice or whatever, they came from next door. Right. I had one brother who unfortunately got killed when I was 12 years old. And that was the beginning of my chemical imbalance in my brain because, he was my older brother and, everybody likes to go get their older brother to do this or that or the other thing. So that pushed me out into the community because I was looking for the love that was no longer in my living room. So, and that's how it all started. I went over my homie's house and stuff. They had brothers and sisters and stuff, so I grew up in the community like that. And, of course, I made some wrong turns. Part of it was a underdeveloped mind in an atmosphere that was Reaganomics. So if anybody knows about those years, there wasn't any cameras up in the community, and there wasn't cell phones that were tapped, so you had to be who you said you were. And I'm alive to tell it, so obviously I survived it. Not that I glorified, but I survived it, and now I'm at the level of my life where I'm ready to give back, because I feel as though I walk with all men. I've been in the jails. I've been paralyzed before. I've been blind in one eye before. I've been this, that, and the other thing. I was telling Coley before the show started that I know things that only 5 people in the world know. That's right. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people in the world. And as far as it pertains to fatherhood, right? Because I like to stay on the topic. I could drift just as good as anybody. That's a very, 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 very important topic because, again, like I said, without the father, a whole bunch of stuff starts to happen, and I can't see how any of it could be good, because then we get the feminization of a youth, you know. Then you get there's no balance for the mother to bounce an idea off of. Now maybe she might have a boyfriend or whatever, and that's, you know, could be a stepdad or whatever, but 9 times out of 10, maybe the kid doesn't take to the stepdad as much. So there's a lot of friction, animosity, lack of communication there. And
Right.
I don't want to Dr. Phil it. Y'all keep
Nah, you
talking
good.
to me because I got a lot of ground to cover in that area.
What?
Yeah, I do.
Well, so your father lived in the house with you?
Actually, I had a missing dad.
Okay.
Okay, now I was fortunate to have a father, but he was working so hard back in those days, and you know, he had other agendas and stuff. So to keep the roof over my head and to keep me getting, you know, one or 3 or 10 Christmas presents or whatever, he really went above and beyond, which required him to be absent a lot of times, but his presence was felt. He left his ghost all the time, and things like that. But I didn't, and also my father was older.
Right.
You know, he didn't have me till he was 40.
Okay.
So there was a communication barrier that was, you know, it didn't work out really, really well.
Like tell me more about that. What did that look like?
Well, see, he was already grown and had already been through a lot of things that life had to offer, and I was just learning life. So we really couldn't communicate. He pretty much assumed that if he tried, I had one of them kind of fathers that'd say this. He used to say, all right, son, you be careful out there, and that's it. Shut the door and I'm going. He never sat me down and said, be careful of what? And so this is how I ended up making a few mistakes along the way. Not that I'm going to point a finger at him, but this is the ancestral way. You know, they did things. They didn't do trial and error like we did. They got things right the first time around. So now that I get a chance to vicariously live through his wisdom, I will definitely continue to raise, not mine, because I lost my son when I was in the penitentiary. He didn't die or anything. He drifted apart from me because he felt as though I didn't raise him, which in retrospect I didn't. However, again, going back to the ancestral jewel of it takes a village to raise a child. So real quick, let me finish this one right quick, Hank. So what I do now is, if I can't raise my own, I raise somebody else's. You know what I mean? It's all about giving back. Okay, good.
Now, I was just going to ask, so how do you feel about, you know what I mean, your father being older when you were born, and, you know what I mean, kind of like being disconnected as far as generationally, you know, so your father was 40 when you were born, so that means he was born back in, what?
31.
In the 30s, right. That's the same year my mother was born. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely a generational gap. They grew up in a whole different era. Mm-hmm. And so how do you feel as though that impacted you with your father being older like that? Because, you know what I mean, here, so this is one, I'm speaking, so my mother was 41 when she had me. My father was a little bit younger. He was like 35, but my mother was 41, and she, you know, it was a benefit to it, and the benefit was this, that she was settled. Okay. She was settled. Okay. She was a mother. You know what I mean? She had raised children, and, you know, like my two older sisters were literally old enough to be my mother, right? And then I had a brother, you know, who passed away. My two older sisters passed too. My brother was 14 years older than me, then my sister was 7 years older than me, then it was me. So she was settled. And I had the benefit of having a grown woman as a mom. She wasn't trying to figure it out when I was a mom. So she had it figured out. I had the benefit of that. But it was also the generational gap. You know, I'm 40 years younger than her, you know what I mean? I'm growing up in the 80s, Reagan, crack, you know what I mean? Iran, Contra, all that stuff, you know what I mean?
Everything
full
that
effect,
plagued
you know what I'm
those
saying?
decades.
So how do you think that impacted you?
Well, to be honest, Coley, man, I wasn't a professional thinker at the time. My mind was underdeveloped, so I never analyzed it growing up. I just almost thought it was the norm because when I would go over my friend's house and stuff, their father wasn't there either. The difference was at the end of the night, my dad was coming back home, and at the end of the night, theirs wasn't. So it didn't impact me until I started maturing mentally.
Right.
And that's when I realized, what coulda, woulda, and shoulda been from my perspective. But it's like you said, he was an adult, settled, doing whatever he felt as though was best. And the communication, it really did go left. So it didn't really work out. However, I don't fault him for that. And I can really, I'm not a finger pointer, but a lot of times I like to get to the core of the issues. Like, we didn't put all the poison stuff in the community and all these negative resources and all that stuff. That stuff came from a select style of people, a select barbaric people, which turned us into savages because they pushed us all together with a minimal amount of resources, and then we became savages with no real good male father figure or real good male role model to civilize us. And we were set up really good for the mass incarceration movement that they already had in play decades before we were even said age. So, let me skip. Let's fast forward to now. Okay, the past is gone. I had a great dad. My dad's right now. He's in the old folks' home. He's been unfortunately dying right in front of my eyes for the last 7 years. It's a very painful thing. I mean, because it becomes physical. All right, my mother already died in my arms. My brother got killed in the army, fighting for this country, fighting so that we could have a podcast. It's not communist. I can wear my own clothes. I can turn the channel I want. So, let me bring that back. So, what did I just say? Because I got a small touch of forgetful stuff.
You was talking about your father and the presence. You know what I mean? And basically, you was highlighting trauma from your mother, trauma from
my father. Okay, where
father.
he's at right now. Okay,
right.
Where he's at right now. Okay, so he's at a place. So he's actually about to transcend sooner or later, and that's a real heavy load for me to carry, to watch my own father be on death row. See, a lot of people take this kind of stuff for granted. So you talk about missing dads. I'm really missing my father, and he's on death row. Okay, so why do I say that? Because he's in an old folks home, and there's no more stops after that. So sometimes I go there, sit with him. I look in the room there, clean it out, putting a new bed in there. That person just died. And these are the psychological effects that take place with them as well that's not seen. A lot of us, just like our family that's incarcerated, we forget about them, leave them in there. And then it's the same way with the old folks. He was just playing checkers, eating his cheese sandwich with his buddy, and then, next day his buddy's gone, right. And he knows that's going to eventually be his destiny. So I try to be at that old folks home and visit my father as much as possible. Anybody who follows me on Facebook knows that, and I always post the pictures because that's my ministry. If I could just reach one or two people that you can get out there and see your folk, because we're all going to be old one day and we're going to need that same visit and that same spiritual uplifting. So yeah, actually right now I'm missing my dad. I wish that I could have these wisdom years and be with my dad while he knows stuff and we can really, Sanford and Son that thing. Unfortunately, that's not the way it turned out. But as I look at you and your son, Coley, it's a beautiful thing because you have a chance to live the American dream. This is what it's all about. This is what other cultures of people teach their children. If you ever go to any foreigners, or you go to a Chinese store or whatever, it's a little 3-year-old little baby in there, and he's running the cash register. He's already working on his second language. By the time he's 19, he's not only going to have his own store, but he's going to be an ambassador in his country. And the same thing that goes for the Arabian stores and all the other stores. This stuff is very important, and I know you. I know you're educated, and I know that you will not see your son short of any of that. And it's a beautiful thing. This is a beautiful energy that we got going on right here. The topic itself.
Take a breath, bro.
Yeah, and I got a question for you.
Take a breath.
Okay. Because you know some fear from Black Planet, boy. They get us together, boy. It's gonna be a wrap.
Yo, check this, right? So you mentioned early on, like, your father was older when he had you, right? And as you started to mature and develop, say in like your 20s or whatever, when you coming into your own as a man, how did your relationship change with your pop?
Well, the good thing about that was the relationship didn't change. He kept going hard doing his own thing. But the good thing about that is he instilled ethic. I had a vicious work ethic. Whatever I was doing, I was always vicious at it. If I rapped, I went hard. If I worked 2 jobs, and plus I was still trying to get overtime. If I was in the streets, I played with both feet and both hands. So I got that from my father. You know what I mean? To go hard. And it's not go hard or go home, just go hard.
Yeah.
So that's like legacy. These are things that you can't buy at Walmart. These are things that somebody just can't tell you, oh, your dad was this, that, and the other. He gave it to me through DNA. So vicariously and physically, psychologically, emotionally, he's still here. He made me. I'm here. I am my father. And this is why I pray to the ancestors. But we didn't get that far yet.
Yo, so at what age did you have how many children do you have?
Biologically, I have one son who wouldn't wear a condom, so I have 3 grandchildren.
At what
3
age,
boys.
At what age did you have your son?
I was 19.
Yeah. Tell me what was going through your head when you found out you was going to be a dad yourself.
Actually, it was planned.
Okay.
It was planned. I had 3 homies that I rolled with, and that I rode with at that time. Of course, I'm older than I can't run with the same crew I was raised with, but in some ways I can. So my bro had a son, my other bro had a son, and it was almost like follow the leader kind of sort of. We were all, sharing the same energy. So I needed a son, and I told God in my prayer, and I told him, I said, don't give me no daughter. It's not going to work out. I was goofy. I was young. I didn't want no daughter. I might have did anything. So I got a son, and I'm glad that I had a son. I did everything that I could do to make his life better than mine. And then, unfortunately, I disengaged in the rules of society right here in the United States, and I was extracted from the streets, thrown into bondage, whereas I still thought I was doing good in his life. I was clear-headed, and I'm trying to raise him from the visiting room, and I'm writing letters, and I'm talking on the phone for 10 minutes, and when there's 1 minute left, I'm still trying to get a last jewel in. And it just wasn't enough. By the time I came home, me and my son were disconnected. Even still to this day, there's a certain disconnection. However, as he gets older, he understands that being a black man in America, you are an extreme mark. You're targeted from the police.
So let me ask you something, Deezy.
Talk to me, Hank.
So being in the penitentiary, out of the ashes, that's our story is born out of that. I went to prison when my son was 2 years old. He came home, he was 16. And so, we had a 14-year gap. So going through that process and trying to stay connected with your son throughout, your time in the penitentiary. I mean, how did it feel? Trying to do that then and then coming home and realizing that it really didn't work? Well,
that's a beautiful question, and it deserves an extravagant answer. I had to charge it to the game. I tried to connect, and I realized that my son was under a different kind of warfare. We were under the chemical warfare and even some physical warfare. But then my son's generation was attacked in a digital warfare that we didn't see coming. So while I was gone, they turned my son into a robot. He's an android, just like the rest of the kids. They got up there, they have to have that cell phone, they have to have some headphones on, they have to type something, text something, email something. They're androids. So they're at the point that they're even texting while they're driving. I mean, it's very dangerous. But when we were growing up, you know, you'd see kids jumping rope and stuff on the sidewalk and playing football. Now they do that shit on an app. So I'm very disconnected from my son. However, I took on the responsibility and the obligation as one who wanted to give back to the community. Like I said, it takes a village to raise a baby. I raise other people's sons. I give it up whereas though I know I can, because now I'm in my wisdom years and I know how to communicate. This is why I'm timeless Thomas. I raise other people's sons. You know what I'm saying? And I'm talking about literally. And I don't give them jewels. I give them gems. I give them just because really there's no such thing as jewels. They stole that from Africa. I mean, come on. Sierra Leone, diamonds, jewels. Gold. The Jews stole that and put their name on it. Jewelry.
What's your relationship like with your grandkids?
Unfortunately, it's the same scenario as my son, maybe a little bit worse, because the structure is not conventional. My son lives in Indiana. My grandkids live in Baltimore. I primarily live in Delaware, so the structure is not conventional. I don't necessarily get along with my son's kids' family, so there's a lot going on there. But again, I assume the right as a black man to still contribute and give my bulk of knowledge and my piece of wisdom to other people's children, because it's all the same. Each one teach one, each one reach one. While I was gone, somebody was raising my son. Whether it would have been the same way I raised him or not, he's still here today. So we both know people very up close that lost their son, you know, to the streets, or lost their daughter to the streets, or whatever it may be. So as long as they're here, we got one more shot at the title. Right. So yeah.
So when you talk about raising other people's sons, other people's children, you know what I mean, that's an admirable thing. You know, that's something that I espouse. You know, I think we should all pour into our kids, pour into the kids in the community, you know what I mean, as well as our own. So how's that experience been? So, because I mean, we're in Delaware, right? Mm-hmm. But you do this, you know what I mean, in New York and Jersey and Baltimore and Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, you know what I mean? How's that been for you? How's that been rewarding for you, being able to travel and do this?
And do it. See, fortunately, we're now in an era where resources are here. So through the World Wide Web and all that stuff, social media and all that stuff, it makes it really easy to connect. And then once you connect, from there it's just about truth. Truth is proof. Truth is infinite. If you give somebody the truth, they can't deny it. Sometimes it hurts, sometimes it cuts, but it can't be denied. So I connect with these guys. Then plus I pride myself in, see, you got a couple kind of old heads. You got an old head, you got a thorough old head, and you got a washed up old head.
What's the difference?
Well, an old head is, you know, regular guy or whatever, a regular older person, but a thorough old head can connect. See, when we were young, well, when I was young anyway, the old heads would come out of jail, right? And they still want to listen to Lionel Richie or whoever. They still trying to wear short top Adidas like Run DMC and all that. And we had went further. We were in the Chuck D and KRS One and all kind of other people. So it's about evolution. Now, even though I don't like some of this mumble music, Lil Baby and
Hold up.
Just time out.
Leave Lil Baby out of this one.
Well, I know that he's a super duper trooper, but at the same time, I was about to come to my point.
Okay, my fault.
Even though it's okay though. Even though I do not really admire those guys' music, I force myself to listen.
Okay.
Because I have to be able to talk the language of the new generation. I don't want to be a washed up old head. I don't want to come drop gems and think I know what I'm talking about, but I didn't say none of the new slang words. I didn't say anything that they can identify with. We didn't have the Lil Baby conversation. So all of that is relevant compared to a washed up old head. I ain't gonna shoot no dart at Steve Harvey because I understand where he's at too, but Steve will throw that stuff away. You understand? Just like he threw his hair. He'll throw that stuff away and man, I ain't messing with them young guys. They listen to that. It's, if you want to communicate with somebody, the first thing you got to do is come down to their level. If you're trying to talk to some 19-year-olds, you can't talk to them because you're 50. You got to first mentally come down and remember when you were 19 exactly where you were at. And then, once you connect, then you can elevate. So, it's like meeting somebody. I'm at the top of the stairs. I'm going to come down and greet you. I can't just say, hey, jump up here. Nah, let me walk up here and let's talk about some stuff. So, yeah, I try to stay current with the music and stuff. And I'm telling you, it busts me. It busts me because I'm older now. When I was younger, I was into it. Shoot 'em up, bang, bang, kid, grandma, buy a brick. That shit was cool as shit. But now that I'm older, I realize how destructive it is on a whole scale. Right. On a whole scale. It turns you into a black Ku Klux Klansman, and it's serious. It's serious because what you intake is what you outtake. You are what you eat. So you are what you listen to. So it's just like somebody said one time, and I was really opened up, said Deezy, the snowman. You understand? Vicious gangster, dope dealer, got Atlanta on lock. But he was putting his son through college the whole time. So don't fucking poison my son with all this hip-hop, hardcore music and shit in the tucky. You telling your son the right ways to go. Thoroughest nigga in the game besides myself is Master P. Because P put his son through school and he showed him the game. And see, first of all, we're showing our kids the wrong stuff. First of all, we need to be teaching them economics. We need to be teaching them how to do taxes. We need to be teaching them the capitalist resources in the capitalist way, how you network in a capitalist society. We're all the way in America. People swim across shark infested waters to get here to play with these resources. And then we're right here and we're rather smoke a blunt with our son and go to the club with him. No, we can't do it like that. We can't do that.
What did you say?
People swim across shark-infested waters, get in a fish fight with national security, laid low for 20 years with no green card, just to get to these resources. We are right here with the same resources, and we choose to try to be our kids' friend first, rather than parent.
So how is that? So trying to be a child's friend
first,
as opposed to parenting. You know what I mean? How do you feel as though people went wrong with that? Do you think you went wrong with that?
It takes the respect out of it, because you got kids calling their mom and dad by their first name. You know, it takes the respect. You know, back in our day, Coley, man, respect was respect. Miss whatchamacallit down the street could smack the shit out of you, and it was cool. Send you right on home, and you will still call her Miss what's her name, and we can do all the shooting and polluting and dealing and willing, but we wouldn't do it on Miss what's her name's thing because we had respect for her. So the respect is kind of out the window when you give your integrity away. When you just say, here, son, I'm just going to compromise my integrity and me and you are going to hang out on your level and we're just going to stay on your level. Nah. Because I only look down on somebody when I'm helping them up. And I won't let you pull me down either. I'm not going down with you. We can come up. So, yeah, that's very important, man, that you keep a respect where it's supposed to be. You know, and then you can do what's called build. You have to make a solid foundation. Respect is important. We got to get back to the Mr. Such and Such, the Mrs. Such and Such. We got to get back to respect. We got to understand why Miss Shirley was calling the police on us. She wasn't a snitch. She took out a 30-year mortgage. She planned on leaving that house to her grandkids. So she's not ratting. She's just saying, look, I had a fucking goal for my family generationally. She was thinking down the line. And she's scared to come outside now because motherfuckers is shooting and polluting. It's not fair to her. So, again, communication-wise, we have to respect our elders, even us now, because it's hard to believe that we're elders because we grew up in a hip-hop culture. So you might catch us with a little Nike on, with a hat cocked to the side, driving a cool car. But make no mistake about it, I'm somebody's grandfather. And you're going to respect me as such. .com.
Right. That's
right. Yeah, cool.
So we're in 2020, March, and you're moving around, touching a lot of people, having an influence on a lot of communities. What's been the most rewarding thing that you've done?
The most rewarding thing I've done, Hank, is the topic of this show, Missing Dads. When I go see my father and sit with him, it's a feeling that's out of this world. it's a feeling that's out of this world because I know that I'm ministering to him. He's ministering to me.
Right.
The other older people are feeling the energy as well. You know what I mean? I might stop in on them and speak and stuff when I come through. You know what I mean? I'm the dude with the shoes, the guy with the fries. They recognize me as the boss with the sauce. But it's with the older people. That's my reward. That's my ministry. That's what I was put on this earth to do. That's my purpose, man. My purpose is to struggle with the underdog.
Yeah.
And that's a rewarding feeling, man. That's a rewarding. The same stuff like Jesus did. He didn't come to the earth to try to fix people that were already fixed. He came to hang with the illest dudes. He came to hang with the lepers, the liars, the murderers, the thieves. Jesus hung with them kind of dudes. Jesus was, we ain't gonna go into Jesus, but we all know he was a gangster, man. It was him, 12 disciples, 13 niggas coming down the street. That's a gang. He was hard. But anyway. Yeah, we'll move past that.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you did a little bit of time in the penitentiary. How much time did you do?
I did 13 years altogether.
Yeah.
I did it on the installment plan. I did 2 years, and then I did 5 years, and then I did 6 years. So, yeah.
How did your views on being a father change over those different stints?
Unfortunately, I did all that time in my 20s and early 30s. So I was kind of still in my young boy mentality a little bit, you know what I mean? I was kind of happy that, you know what I mean, his parents had him, and you know what I mean, my dad had him. So I was happy that I was grateful that I had a sister. So I'm gonna say that.
So he had a relationship with your pop.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, he always got a relationship with my side of the family. Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
What did that look like? Does he like from what I understand, what it sounds like is you guys have limited contact, you and your son. But when you guys did talk about it, like what type of things did him and your dad do?
Well, my pop raised him in my absence.
Okay.
My pop raised him in my absence. But again, me and my pop got a 40-year gap. So what's that do to my son?
Right.
They got a 60-year gap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But luckily, I got one of them sons that's 10 times smarter than the average person because he wasn't really he was subjected to the evils that men do in the urban community. But since he had a dad that was really locked up, that really went through some obstacles, he was one of the ones that looked at that as some corny ass shit. Like, man, I don't want to be like my dad, which is a good look because again, you go to penitentiary, you got dudes that sellies with their son.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So the things that some people think are cool, like if your objective is to be a real nigga out here, like if you want to be a real nigga and keep it real, you want to be a real nigga, then you need to switch your objective. You need to change up. We got to become kings and queens. We got to get back to who we are and not be ashamed of it. See, that's the thing. Like, people think that being positive is corny. Now, watch this. Flip the script. All the dudes that I used to take their lunch money, shove them in the locker, smack them in the back of the head, and write my list out for tomorrow. I want you to do it again tomorrow. They run the world now. They Geek Squad. You got to come to the dudes that were nerds. So it's okay to go against the grain if the grain is toxic.
How do you teach? How do you teach that though? Because just like you and myself and others, you know, when we seen the grain, you know, what I mean, that's how the grain was going this way. We kind of went along with it. But you see, when you people, I think about in high school. I talked to my son about this. They was teaching me. I was in a class about computer programming. I kind of half-assed did it. I didn't get all the way into it, but I really liked it. But I was caught up in my other shit, right? So I wouldn't go against the grain. You know what I mean? And being a 40-some-year-old gentleman like yourself, we understand that all the reward is against the grain. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The struggle.
I got an answer for you when you said, how do you teach it?
Yeah.
Personally, Cody, man, you guys are doing a good job. You and your team, you're leading by example. There's no experience is the best teacher. Example is the best teacher. I can tell you, damn. But if I'm not doing damn, then how do I expect you to learn it?
Right.
So you guys are leading by example, and it's very admirable, which makes it but it makes it tangible. it gives the perspective of, hey, this thing is achievable. And then the history of your story makes it even more official. Right. I was this, and this, but now I'm here, and I'm giving you guys a cheat sheet on how to not even go what I went through. You can just jump from where you're at into your life to where you need to be going. Right. And that's the whole object, man, to give the youth cheat sheets. You know what I mean? Because there's no reason why it's like Jesus bore the cross. Why do we all gotta wear the same cross? He already did that stuff. So it's some things that you don't have to learn firsthand. You can get it from somebody else. But you guys are leading by example, and that's the best way. So I believe the movement in teaching the youth and breaking that barrier is to just lead by example. Right. Period. .com. You know, you do gotta be around it though. You can't sit in the office and count up and do the paperwork and be nonprofit and say, okay, we're doing this and that. You gotta be in the field. They have to see that. So when you do come through, it's like, oh man, oh yo, he used to be this, and this. But they don't even see that because they see something upright. They see a clean, thorough black man. We all know them dudes. You know what I'm saying? When we was young, they be like, yo, my man, back in his day. But now it's not a fear type of respect. It's a grown man type of respect. Right. You know what I'm saying? He has that glow that he can go there, but he's so positive that that's not even on his mind. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the important thing, man, that we match our glows and that we teach. See, the important thing is that we don't abandon the responsibility of raising and grooming and nurturing our lost babies. Don't miss when I said they got kidnapped in a digital warfare. You understand what I'm saying? These guys learn how to box from an app. They learn how to shoot basketball from an app. Do you smell what I'm cooking? People think playing Madden is really playing football. They never touch the sandlot. The closest thing they might get is playing flag. One of these guys get hit by anything, they're going to break a bone, they're going to be in St. Francis for 6 months. They're frail. And that's just the way that the powers that be want them. They want them to be anti-soldier, anti-warrior, feminization. I'm going to pull a picture out that has to be pulled out, and it has to be pulled out now. And somebody take over the wheel while I grab this picture, because this is very important, and it has to go up on the thing. This has to be seen. It's a must. This is a mandatory thing here.
Well, how am I going to take the wheel and you are a guest?
Well, no. Just talk to him about something, because this is real important. No, I'm serious. Because you have to, because I'm on the show now, and you have to remind the world that you came home and did such a great job with your son. Look at this interaction here. It's the same as foreign interaction. You and your son are building. You have a radio station together. This is completely positive. This is something thorough. This is business, economics, media. It's a whole bunch of bonding, positive energy. You understand what I'm saying? Hank brings in a Deezy. That's just one of my aliases. I got a whole other bunch of characters that I still live into them too. Right. I'm tripolar.
Tripolar?
Out this bitch. Hold on, I gotta show you. And when I show you this is going to be really something major in the show. This is all right. Here we go right here. Now we gotta zoom in on this. This is Nas from my era. Don't do that to me. See how they do. This is Nas from my era. Okay, I'll bring it up there. This is Nas from his era.
Oh, hold up.
Oh, it is. Ain't no way around it. It is. See, that's Nas from your era. This is Nas from our era. You see? So that's what happens when dad ain't around. Unless your dad is Dwayne Wade. Okay? Because he's tripping too. And I don't mind telling him. Little Bootsy already told us. I'm not going to coattail off of that. Because I will. Yeah, okay, well, we're not going to go there. But anyway, it's a lot going on. And to be aware of who's doing what and to lead by example is big. It's huge. And like I say, I took my hat to you, Coley, man, because y'all have been consistently leading by example. Everybody says it. That's every dude's dream in the penitentiary, man. When I come home, I want to talk to the kids. I'm going to do speeches. 2 weeks later, they want to know who got 2 for 15. This brother and his group of brothers have stuck with the movement and ideology of giving back by example. You understand what I'm saying? Because a lot of people, I ain't gonna say no politicians' names and all this and all that. A lot of people hide behind the desk and pretend like they're giving back. They might give a little grant to a grassroots or something and believe that that's giving back. What we all have to understand is there's mental, physical, and spiritual. It's a whole nother realm that's watching over this thing. The angels are recording your deeds. You can outslick whoever. You can't outslick the angels. See, here's the thing. See, when you're in the penitentiary, you learn how to do stuff like this. You learn that the body's comprised of three things: mind, body, and soul. And two of those things can leave the jail at any time. Your mind and your soul, your mental and your spiritual, can go right over the gates and float. The only thing that has to stay is your physical. That's 1/3. So the other 2/3 can go. So that's here too. That's in the community too. So we have to use all three of our stuffs to connect with the youth and keep the connection going. It's very important that we have visitors for prisoners. Keep our family members that are incarcerated tied to the community. There's no reason why they should get lost or left behind. It's just no reason.
Right.
We get more flowers when we die than when we're alive. You understand what I'm saying? I wish I would die and somebody say, man, I wish heaven had a phone so I could call him. Bitch, I got a phone right now.
They not calling you, Deezy? They're not calling you now.
Do you undersmell me? Not the way that they should. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
It takes, unfortunately, a funeral for us to get together. What about just let's get together? You understand what I'm saying? Always takes a funeral in it. So anyway, but these are the type of things that, that we need to address. Because I'm going to share this podcast, and this one right here is going to be big because Big Deezy's on it. We're going to share it and continue to share it and get this message out. Yeah.
That's right.
A freestyle round. Well, why'd you ask me to do that? I tell you what I do.
You rap?
I tell you what I do. This for my youth. Because somebody gotta save y'all from jail bars, graveyards, and broken tomorrows. Now you gotta learn to think on your feet. I know you see them dudes hustle on a block or right down the street, and it seems like a quick way to eat. Till somebody come out the alley with a hood on displaying the heat. Now you know that your ass is wrong. You think about, is this life me and do I really belong? If it straight hit me, will I really be gone? Y'all better stay with me while I finish my song.
Okay.
The streets really got me vexed, polluting the youth. Y'all niggas acting like you scared of truth. Like you really want your little brother thugging the block. Like you really want your little daughter sucking the cock. Woo! These grips we gotta tighten, and these wrongs we gotta righten. It's really getting frightening with nowhere to turn for the young, so they turn to them guns. Look, man, I ain't gotta tell you the rest. Let's keep it real. Ain't nobody gonna sell them a vest. So for real, them little niggas in a hell of a mess. But I'ma be the one to step up and say, young buck, you could be what you want when you grow up. You can start right now. Don't keep your goals on top. And don't deal with people that'll slow you up. Now you better believe that I ball. I'm the ball in a wide-body Lex that's parked at the mall. But the world got crazy right quick. Y'all act like crack and weed and dope's the only way to flip. Like you gotta be a gangster and rob for your strip. Like it ain't no other way that you can move forward. Man, drugs is slash. Whole body burnt to ash. You on a block where it's hot and talking trash. You on a block where see, I go on for days and days. But the point is the versatility of just trying to reach those. That's what I was saying, the communication. You understand what I'm saying? Just in case there was any real hip hoppers in the crowd, I'm getting off my positive message.
You see how he did that?
Nah, we feel that.
You see how he did that?
We feel that.
He went straight from the verbiage to the freestyle to right back into the verbiage.
Yo, that's talent.
And it's
Definitely talent.
It's the energy. Because I am more than pleased to be sitting in a room with your father and his product. You're a direct young mirror of him, which means he's an emperor, you're a king, which means you're so dynamic that you don't even know yet. You haven't met the 2027 version of yourself.
Talk to him.
And I'm positive that everything's going to work out because you have the world's greatest father. Even, may Allah protect him from evil, even if something happened to him today, it's too late. He already gave you the venom that you need to continue in life and win.
Yeah.
What is your measure of success? We don't need no fucking gold chains and a Bentley. That's not success. We have to have stuff that you can't buy at Walmart. We have to have honor, integrity. We have to have morals. We have to inflict these things to the right people because that's how you really build. That's how you really build. The stuff that you can't buy at Walmart, the blessings, the happiness, that's how you build. That's how you build, man.
That's right.
And so that's where this energy is coming from. I didn't really go from the verbs to the rhyme back to that. Nah. It's the energy. This thing is serious right now.
Right.
Yeah, if I can gauge it, I don't have enough hands. I need somebody else to help me gauge it. Yeah, it's a lot going on. So,
Wow.
I appreciate being here, fellas. I'm going to wrap my thing up.
Having you.
I'm open for questions out there. If anybody wants to call in, I'm Timeless Thomas on Facebook. I'm also Timeless Thomas on YouTube, and I appreciate if you subscribe. And if anybody wants to donate, DM me on Facebook, and I will immediately supply you with my Cash App information. So, y'all know what it is, and y'all know how I do it. It's your baby, Big Deezy.
Yo, I think he just closed us out.
I think he just did, man. And yo, we're blessed, man. Thank you and thank you, our man behind the scenes, Chris doing his thing over at Art Renaissance Arts and Music Group, doing their thing.
Shout out
Been
to the
with us
family.
for a minute. Shout out to the
down.
family, always, man. And once again, man, this is Coley Harris.
This is Mark.